to music first, always.
We are unstoppable.
Open the frontiers to make people meet people.
Music is not fireworks. Music is feeling.
You're good to go.
Thank you, vote for the music!
This is Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast.
Hello and welcome back to Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast. I'm Benjamin Widdybank.
And I'm Tadeusz.
Now today we're continuing our look through the entries of the Eurovision Song Contest 2024 as we look through the second half of the first semi-final, which will be taking place on the 7th of May in Malmö. Now continuing on through the running order, we get to song number 12, which is the Azerbaijani entry by Fahree featuring Ilkin Dovlatov. With the song, it's very difficult to pronounce for an English-speaking person. It's got many unfamiliar Azerbaijani letters in it, but my best assumption as its pronunciation is something like Özünlə Apar. So, however that is pronounced, let's have a listen to it, shall we?
After a complicated selection process that involved shortlisting artists with awful songs and then disqualifying them once someone pointed out that they're awful, Azerbaijan ends up sending to Eurovision Fahree and Ilkin Dovlatov with the song whose name I'm not even gonna try to pronounce. And that's saying something because I'm able to pronounce Nendes Narkotikumides Eita Mekilmidagi.
Yes, I mean, as I said in the opening, Özünlə Apar, which I think it might be pronounced like. I mean, I'm sure it's not. It is quite difficult to say, but I do have to congratulate the Azerbaijani delegation for giving us a title like that, because they have always, up until this point, sung in English every single year. So it is nice to finally get a song which is in Azerbaijani. Now, it's not entirely in Azerbaijani. Yes, there are English verses, but there is quite a bit of Azerbaijani in this, the whole of the choruses. So that is a big positive for language diversity in Azerbaijan. Well, you have to consider also, this is also only the second Azerbaijani entry ever, after last year's Azerbaijani entry actually, not to include any foreign songwriters. Mostly Azerbaijani songs are written by people not from Azerbaijan, usually from Sweden. And these last 2 years, although it didn't work last year and they failed to qualify, this year they have continued the format and gone for something a lot more authentic to Azerbaijan, not just songwriter-wise, but as I said, in the language as well. And I do have to applaud them for finally doing that.
That's right. After years of demanding, Azerbaijani language finally makes its way to Eurovision in its native country. Be careful what you wish for, people. As you can see, I'm delaying talking about the song as much as possible, and that's because there isn't much to say about the song itself. It's a pretty boring, unimaginative song, but it has ethnic inspirations, and that's something. I have to admit, I actually like those ethnic vibes quite a bit, and the song has grown on me over recent time. The song is nothing special, but it's fine, I guess. It's boring, it's generic.
Yeah, the song, what can we say about the song? I don't want to be too mean to any of our entries here, but there's just not a whole lot going on with this song. It's just absolutely mind-bogglingly boring. Yes, there are some ethnic elements to it which make it mildly interesting, but mildly is a strong word. It's just very, very dull. It's not particularly performed in an engaging way in the showcase performance that the EBU posted either. It's just flat, boring, and it's like a far worse version of Fade to Black spruced up with ethnic production. I would really find this almost impossible to be in the final on the 11th of May. I just don't think it's going to happen. I just can't understand why anyone would vote for this. Just almost comically entirely devoid of any substance at all. And there's pretty much no style here at all, apart from the ethnic production, which really isn't doing anything to grab you, apart from going, oh, Azerbaijan are entering something ethnic this year.
But it isn't as awful as many things Azerbaijan has treated us to before. could have potentially treated us this year, or even some of its competitors. This lack of bigger impression is making the Azerbaijani chances at qualifying this year, however, incredibly small. Perhaps they will be able to salvage something with the staging, but I sincerely doubt it.
If this had been a few years ago, I would absolutely agree. I'd think the Azerbaijani delegation would actually pull out everything they could do with the staging. But if we look at last year, they really didn't seem to put much budget or attention into the staging or the song or the entry in general. It seemed like the Azerbaijani delegation just lost interest in Eurovision last year. And now if we look at the showcase performance that the EBU posted, which was made by Azerbaijani television, it's comically cheap. Like, if you just look at everything about the performance, it's obviously filmed in a very small studio against a plain backdrop. There's literally like a table with a drape over it, which is supposed to look like DJ decks, but it's literally just the cheapest table you can find with a drape over it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And then even the guitars they're playing are the cheapest possible guitars you can find on Amazon for a very, very small price. It's usually the ones 12-year-olds end up with when they're first trying to learn the guitar. It's absolutely hilarious how cheap that showcase performance is. And it just tells me that the Azerbaijani delegation seem to have absolutely lost any interest in Eurovision, interest in putting in the sort of staging money they used to put in, say even as recently as 2019, where they did augmented reality on their staging, for example. I just don't think that's the Azerbaijani delegation we have anymore. I think it's the Azerbaijani delegation that will put a very cheap guitar and a very cheap table with a drape over it in a tiny studio against a white backdrop and call that job done. So I really don't expect much from this. If this gets into the final, I'd be very shocked. I think this is even a contender for our coveted 37th place, perhaps even 0 points on that teddy boat in semi-final 1. So those were our thoughts on the Azerbaijani entry for the Eurovision Song Contest 2024 in Malmö. Now we'll be continuing our quickfire reviews as we move further forward through the second half of the first semi-final tomorrow, and we take a look at Australia's entry for the very same contest. But until then, you know what to do. Go on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Amazon Podcasts or YouTube or wherever you're listening to us and follow us or subscribe to us or do whatever you can to stay in the loop and don't miss our next review. You can interact with us in the comment sections or in Q&As or in polls or whatever it is that is on the platform you're on. You can leave us a review, or you can even visit our website, voteforthemusic.co.uk, to find out more. But until the next time, thank you so very much for listening, and remember to vote for the music.
This is to music first, always.
We are unstoppable.
Open the frontiers to make people meet people.
Music is not fireworks. Music is feeling.
You're good to go.
Thank you, vote for the music!
This is Vote for the Music, the Eurovision podcast.